Okay, everybody, welcome to this session for the RevTech Summit. I am joined by the one and only William Tyree, CMO at Intelligence Bank. We've got a couple interesting things we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, William, for people who don't know you, do you mind telling us just a little bit about yourself and Intelligence Bank?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Billy. Awesome to be back at RevTech. So always love it. It's a value add for my entire team. I know. So definitely a privilege. Yeah. CMO of Intelligence Bank. We are a platform that helps marketing teams get content out the door faster and legal and brand approved. So essentially, what does that mean? It means helping teams be exponentially more creative by consolidating a bunch of their creative workflow tools into one, and then also helping to keep them in regulatory compliance.
Okay, very, very important to just make sure you're in compliance and everybody is happy when you produce that content.
That's
But
right.
get it out quick. Get it out quick. Okay. So we talked before this session a few things that were kind of top of mind right now around the tech stack, technology, and even just some trends in like our team setup. But one of the things that you brought up that has been top of mind for me as well, and it plays right into the tech stack, I think is the role of the SDR. I've seen a little bit, you go on LinkedIn, you go to events, some people are like, maybe it's not what it was cracked up to be. But what are your thoughts around the future of SDRs in driving pipeline? Because that's really what we're here to talk about, is like, how do we use technology in combination with people to drive pipeline? What are your thoughts on where is that going with SDRs right now?
Yeah. For me, I feel like a lot has changed in the last 2 years, but the inciting factors have been kind of boiling under the surface for a while now. First of all, I have to say that I'm a huge believer in, using AI, using technology to create a better buying experience. And I also think that human beings are always going to be completely essential to sales. But I definitely think that the SDR role as we know it, which has been, not that there aren't some great career SDRs that have deep product knowledge, but most have been straight out of college, right?
Yeah.
And then kind of onboarded as quickly as possible. And I think that the data is pretty undeniable. Like just a couple of years ago, Gartner estimated that for most B2B companies, there was a 1-to-1 ratio between SDRs and account executives, right? In B2B.
Yeah.
Today, go to LinkedIn, look for jobs. There are exponentially more AE roles and marketing roles than SDRs. And that's the first time that's ever been the case as long as I've been doing this, which is a really long time now. So
Yeah.
it's completely flipped. And I would say that for me, I feel like there's three things that really kind of go into that. The first is, I think, buyers increasingly want to do most of their research before they talk to a rep.
Yeah.
And then when they do want to talk to a rep, they want to talk to, like, I think as I've heard you call it, like a full cycle rep.
Yeah.
And they want to talk to somebody who's experienced, can really lead them, through the entire process if possible. They don't want to be handed off. They don't want gatekeepers. And I think the third thing is that, frankly, like, we need human beings for all those things that I just mentioned, but a lot of the functions of just for inbound SDRs are things that AI can do at this point.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. The other thing I would add, and I have a few things to add to those, but another point would be just the economics of it. If you're like, we interview guys to be AEs all the time, and I've interviewed guys who are SDRs, want to be the AE. Like, hardly anyone wants to stay in that SDR role. Like, they're just
Right.
doing it to like say, hey, I have some sales experience, and I think it does lend itself to like teaching you at least kind of like the hard work part of sales. But just because you're a good SDR doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good closer,
Yeah.
is what we've seen. But well, I've interviewed guys, they're an SDR, and we ask them, okay, like, what's the deal size that you guys are selling? and they're like, some of them are like not even $1,000 a month. Some of them are right around like $100 to $200 a month.
Wow.
So, and their comp plan has been like they're making, 90 to 100 if they hit targets. I'm just like, and the targets aren't crazy. And I'm as a founder myself, I'm thinking through the math, and I'm like, okay, so if they're paying these guys this much, the AE role is getting paid at least as much to close them. How are they? And like, beyond the cost of goods, just the sales cost to close a deal, I'm like, either they have an amazing upsell opportunity here, and that's why they're willing to pay this, or they just don't make money on customers for years. Um, and so, and tech companies, a lot of them have had that luxury of just being like, hey, their investors have tasked them with just market share. Like, you got to get market share. You got to, and they're essentially just throwing money at market share without a focus on profitability. And the shift over the last 2 years, which I think has been really good, is like, you got to get profitable, and you got to get efficient. And I just don't see how for a lot of companies, unless you're really selling high dollar deals, I don't know how you justify having an SDR if you're tasked with being profitable.
Completely right. I mean, the payback period is really, really long for most companies. And and again, I'm not saying that there isn't a place for that role. I think for some companies it does still make
Yeah.
sense, will make sense. But the other thing that I'll say too is outbound is not dead for sure, especially when
Oh,
paired with a really good all bound and ABM model. Um, I know of a lot of companies where they look back at the last year or two, and those seasoned AEs actually did a lot better outbounding, drove a lot more pipeline that they created than the SDR team. I think that's just because it's a tougher market, buyers are more sophisticated, and frankly, the more experience you have, the better you're going to be at really, finding the right targets and helping them understand value.
agreed on that. Agreed. And then to circle back a little bit to one of the points you made earlier with inbound and SDRs, like, when we first started this business, one of our customers, he came to me and he was like, I want to use a chat bot. Like, I have a whole team that calls out on people who fill out forms, and all they do is book meetings. It's like, these are layups. A bot should be able to do these all day. And while he didn't, do a layoff with his team, as we got him going, when people would decide to leave and take another role, he just quit backfilling them. Because on that inbound side of things, you can use AI and automation to take those hand raisers and just say, yep, right to an AE. There's no need for an SDR. You've already raised your hand and you look like a possible fit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, you of all people, I think, with your tool, with Signals, what's the difference that you've seen in how marketing teams are helping to make sure that inbound gets addressed and buyers get where they need to go
Yeah.
now versus like 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah. So, I mean, with our tool, the biggest thing that our marketing team does, and we see our customers doing, is we allow the marketers to profile the companies coming to the site, and one, just say like, okay, possible fit, really good fit, not a fit. If it's not a fit, like, they can nicely send them away, or send them to people who just need at bats, but we're not, they're new, they're onboarding, they need to practicing demo, and we know this isn't going to be a deal. But for those that look good, we don't have SDRs. We call them full cycle AEs. We can connect them right away, and we're able to say, okay, whether that's a live chat, whether that's scheduling a meeting, or whether that's even just alerting them to, hey, one of your target accounts or an account in your territory that looks like an ideal customer, they're poking around, they're showing intent, alerting the AEs to that. They can focus their time on where they want to be, closing deals, and just prioritizing things a lot faster, and it's automated as well. So you can do some manual work in it, but a lot of it's automated. So you just have to say, okay, like, here's where Signals is telling me I should go and spend my time.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And I think I don't know. I think things are different in different parts of the world. Expectations are different, but
Yep.
I know in the US, like, most buyers, they it's so hard to buy, right? Today. You get your budget, you have a buying committee, right? And you should have a buying committee because you look, these are big investments, often multi-year investments, as they should be.
Yep.
But once you have everybody aligned on what that RFP is, if you have an RFP or just what the requirements are, the last thing you want is a gatekeeper. And I really have seen just such a big shift. And it's interesting. It's still, I think, a difficult mindset for some companies, in that the idea that the buyer should be able to book a direct meeting right away or engage with that seasoned rep right away. And I get it, because those AEs sometimes are really expensive.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have enough of them. I mean, it's really hard sometimes to find a great fit in this market, but I feel really strongly that, that's something where marketing teams and sales teams, they just really, really need to be able to get on the same page on that, because otherwise I feel like they're going to be left behind.
Yeah. You've got to get that alignment, and yeah, you're going to get left, because if you're misaligned, essentially you're just spending money, like, because everybody's doing something. People want to be busy. They don't want to go to work and sit in the office and have nothing to do. Like,
Right.
most people, if you have people that want to go in the office and do nothing, you should probably get those people off your team. Um, but but yeah, you've got to get that alignment. And if you have that alignment, you can move quicker and more efficiently. Like, time is money, and the alignment helps you get things done really quickly. Now, let me ask you a question around, like, tech stack. Budgets are definitely been tightened over the last little bit. We've seen that people have to do a little bit more with less. Like, what are you seeing as, like, the critical items that you think, hey, everybody needs to have these in the tech stack, even if you don't mind sharing, like, what do you guys have in your tech stack, and how are you using it? What are you seeing as essential?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think for most B2B teams, I think that the things that you really need are, I think about it as like an aggregated group of tools that are just that are sometimes not exclusively for marketing. In fact, most of the time, not just for marketing.
Yep.
But I think good data sources, right? Sometimes one is enough depending on what you're selling, but like, I'd say that's the one thing I would not skimp on, is even sometimes regionalized or localized data sources. So that's important.
And when
Um,
you say data sources, just like, are you talking like Zoom info, whatever it might be, so that you can understand who's possible players in your market?
that's absolutely right.
Okay.
I think for B2B, hopefully, there's some aspect of ABM that you're running, whether it's fully orchestrated accounts or marketing led ABM or sales led, one of those two. But at the minimum, knowing who the decision makers are that you need to reach at those accounts, even if you're not reaching out to them directly, if you have those stored in your CRM, then when they engage with your company, who really your sales team needs to spend time with. So
Yeah.
for me, I think that's really number one. I think that for sure, a platform that essentially, helps you serve customers in real time. For me, everything we talked about in terms of eliminating gatekeepers, it's just the mission, I believe, of every B2B marketer today should be serving customers in real time and being the easiest company to buy from. So for me, yeah, like real time chat is important. Direct meeting booking is important. I think it's equally important too to have some kind of tool that helps you um, do product tours, because I think buyers want to see your product. And I know that there's a lot of compelling data out there that product tours are kind of essential if you want to do product led growth. And I mean, we've found it, like, I can't even build them fast enough right now.
Really.
Honestly, yeah, everything from product tours on specialized integrations you have. Even those, it doesn't have to be just like one massive product tour for your entire platform. That might not even be possible for most companies, but that's really, really essential. And those are really good like leads, and also good, it's great engagement for your team to see. Um, I think those would be kind of like my
Those are
top
your top items.
my top items. I think the last thing, and I'm a little biased here, but one of the reasons that I went to Intelligence Bank was because I was using multiple tools for my team's content creation. And for me,
Yep.
I feel like great B2B content is what makes the world go around. Without that, like it's really hard to do much. And so like a really good, digital asset management system that can consolidate a bunch of workflow tools, I think is great, because otherwise we all have to do more with less, and that includes, unfortunately, your content creation, right?
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't skimp on that either.
I like that list. I like it. I mean, with the content creation, good content makes marketing and sales work. Like if I've done it where you have mediocre content, where you have good content, you're much more efficient if you take the time to, hey, we're going to make some really good content here. People can sniff out, hey, this is just this was half-assed, not really unique, really quick. There's so much content that we all deal with. So I love that on the content management side of things. What about on the outbounding side of things? You touched on outbound, that it's not dead. And I'm fully on board with you on that, even though our tool is very inbound focused. I don't think outbound's dead at all. We have our reps pick up the phone more than ever over the last year, and it's been great for us. But what are your thoughts on outbound and how to do it well?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge believer kind of extending the stack a little bit. I still think like a great outbound cadence tool, sales engagement platform is essential. I mean, look, as a marketer, I will say it really, really helps me if I can like see all the outbound emails and actually get access to some of the sales conversations too, so that we can learn from the engagement that the sales team is having, right? So absolutely, like an outbound sales engagement tool is essential. I think a conversation intelligence tool that helps you aggregate, all those conversations and make them accessible for your team is super important as well. I wouldn't give those away for just about anything. But I agree with you. You mentioned the phone. It's amazing. I still think that if you can get good data with phone numbers for your ICP, and that's often really, really difficult, but if you can and you can make it work, I just over and over again, I think the most successful reps are the ones who have the most conversations. That to me hasn't changed.
I agree. Like you have the most conversations, you're going to do the most demos. And the more demos you do, the better you're going to get at it. Just anecdotally, my brother is a salesman, started a new job at a new SaaS company, and they're, I would say, just barely out of startup mode. And there were a couple AEs already there, and he's been there a few weeks, and he's like, you know what, I'm booking way more, and they're all full cycle. They don't have SDRs. And he said, I book way more meetings than the guys that have been there, because I don't care about picking up the phone. And those guys, they're all email, all LinkedIn. And I'm just a few weeks in, and I do double the amount of demos, because I don't care. I'll pick up the phone and talk to somebody.
I love that. I love that. That is, we would get along really, really well. Maybe I'll invite myself over for Thanksgiving.
Okay. One thing I do want to touch a little bit more on is the content marketing. Like you touched on the product demos, getting the content out. We've actually made the shift on our website over the last couple months to be much more product demo focused. Like just not the whole product all at once, but hey, this little part of it, here's the little demo. Here's how it works. You can watch it right there. Don't have to put in your email. Don't have to talk to anybody. You can get a decent idea of how it works before you talk to any of us. But driving content and what's the current state where you guys are at the heart of it at Intelligence Bank on content marketing workflow, how to be efficient at it. Where are we right now? Like what are you seeing in the market around content creation and how to drive it efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely. I think kind of if I could separate kind of like marketing into two different worlds. Look, a lot of brands that we work with are like maybe your favorite fast food chain, your favorite airline, and things like that. So think about like the entire world of business to consumer. Those folks are uploading, millions and millions of assets to platforms like every year, like ours, and most of those go through multiple review processes with people inside and outside marketing, right? I think the trick to making it all work and doing more with less, which is everybody, is essentially getting your approval processes streamlined, using AI first whenever you can, like even like the little things like closed captioning your videos, automated video transcripts, um, automated auto tagging. So there's good metadata so that your partners and all the people in your business, even if it's your sales reps, can easily find things, right? So I would say that the state of marketing is speeding up really really fast, and they're doing that because it's kind of an AI first mentality. Anything I can use automation for, I'm going to, because I need the creativity and the passion and inspiration of my human beings to actually make a connection and impact, right? With
Yeah.
it. Um, I'd say in B2B, I think B2B is getting there. I'll give a little shout out to Caspian Studios. Caspian Studios created what I think is like the first Hollywood style storytelling there in the world, where they created like a fictional series with Hollywood actors for brand placement, and
Hmm.
they're doing that with great success. It's really, I think, revolutionizing. I think I love that though, because it is even within these fictional stories, there's if you had like a Venn diagram, there would be complete overlap with the brand. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily like hitting you on the head and selling within that fictional context, but it's completely relevant to the buyers. So something to check out called Murder in HR, if anybody wants to see it. So
Okay.
those are some of the I think the high points for me that I'm seeing out there.
Okay. 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 Well, before I let you go, is there anything I should have asked you about that I didn't?
I don't think for me anything. What about you? Actually, the one thing that I'd love to ask you about is just what are you seeing across the board in terms of consolidation or aggregation in tech?
Y- Yeah, we're seeing that people want to consolidate tools. Like
Yeah.
no longer is it for most companies best in breed for every, your best email tool, your best CRM, your best outbounding, I mean, there's endless amount of tools depending on what strategies you want to run. Um, we're seeing more people are okay with being like, okay, here's a tool that's really good. It's maybe not the best at any one thing that it does, but it can replace two tools or it can do three or four things pretty good. Like not amazing, but really solid. Like it'll work. And then there's less chance of things breaking as well. We all know like we love the integrations, but they don't always work. So what we're seeing is people want to consolidate. They've got to, and even share budget between marketing and sales. Like, our tool, usually marketing is our buyer, but sales is typically a user at almost every customer as well. And sometimes, like they're sharing budget to get deals done a little bit. And we're seeing more of that coming through where it's like, okay, marketing wants this, sales also wants it. They're both going to share in the budget to get the deal done. But yeah, across the board, we're seeing people are consolidating tools and looking for what's the best option that does a really good job at a great price rather than, hey, we just have to have the absolute best and money is no object.
Yeah, that resonates a lot, and I think that's great advice for buyers. I think kind of adding onto that point is I think that my advice for marketers and other folks in the audience that are trying to buy something and make a case for it something, Ask not what they can do for marketing, but what they can do for your company, right?
Yeah.
It's like, because so many of the tools have so much value, not just for marketing and sales, but also for customer success, also for, frankly, your CFO, for IT. So yeah, I've seen the same thing, and I think it's healthy, really healthy trend.
I love it, man. I love it. Okay. With that, our time is about up. So we will hand it off to the next session. But thank you, William. And everyone else, stick around. We've got a lot more great content coming up throughout the day at the RevTech Summit.